Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner, and get involved. On the show this evening, we're going to be talking about Sir Alex Ferguson apparently backing Erik ten Hag to be successful as the Manchester United manager and wants to, keep him in the job. We're also going to be talking about some quotes coming out from Fabrizio Romano saying that it's 99.9% sure that Sancho will leave Manchester United in the January transfer window. We're also going to be talking about this link to a new right back that looks set to speed up into the January window. Couple of other bits to get into as well. Obviously, we have got a massive game of football on Wednesday night against Copenhagen, so we'll be having a bit of a chat about that. We'll be having a bit of a review of where we are at the moment with our season. As always, get involved in the comments section, get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on this afternoon's show. This afternoon, it's the evening, on this evening's show. Let's start off with a bit of positivity then, because I always like to try and bring a bit of positivity. I know being a Manchester United fan can be a little bit depressing at times. So the news is that apparently Ahmad is expected to return within the next week or so. And you know what? I'm really, really excited about this. I think Amad Diallo is a type of player who has never really had the opportunity at Manchester United to shine. I definitely think there's a player in him. I think he's good. I think he's got that hunger. I think he's got that desire. He's still only 21 years of age, remember. He's just turned 21, very fast, obviously very skillful, good with both feet, very technical. He's got that little bit of something to him, which I think we really, really need at the moment. Anthony's obviously not working at this current moment. I honestly think for Anthony, he's still young. I think he still can be a good player. I just think at the moment he needs a bit of time out of the team just to try and maybe reset. Do you know what I mean? To bring him back to the Anthony we saw last season, because there was glimpses of a player last year. There was, you can't deny it. Last season, Anthony, he wasn't world class, but I think he was okay. Obviously wasn't worth the €100 million price tag, but that's not really his fault, is it? He didn't say to Manchester United, I'm worth 100 million. Ajax probably couldn't believe their eyes when Manchester United offered 100 million. So it's very easy to fixate on, we paid 100 million, he's a flop, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's Manchester United's problem, isn't it? That's John Murtough, Richard Arnold, who was stupid enough to pay 100 million euros for somebody who clearly was never worth 100 million euros. I'm just looking at his stats for last season. He got 15 goals and assists in 47 matches. So he averaged a goal or an assist every 3 games. It's not amazing, is it? But it's okay. Obviously, this season has been absolutely terrible. He hasn't got a goal or an assist in any match, in any competition this season, which for somebody playing that far up the pitch, a right winger, to not have contributed in any way, in the final third is obviously not good enough. And I think people like Amad Diallo coming back, this is his prime opportunity to come in and to really hit the ground running. And I think that he will. I think Amad's got a really, really good future at Manchester United. The same with Pellistri. And I'm excited to see what they bring to the club in the coming years. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Amad Diallo deserves to get some game time at Manchester United? Or do you think maybe it should just be Pellistri? Maybe you think Rashford should play and Garnacho should play on one wing? Let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, I'm open to all different suggestions. I would probably say at this point, that the best wingers we have are probably Marcus Rashford and Garnacho. I would probably play Rashford on the right and Garnacho on the left. That's what I would do at this moment in time. But at the same time, I would be more than happy to see Pellistri get some game time. He pretty much won us that game against, what are they called, the other day, against Fulham. He did. He came onto the pitch and completely changed everything. So fair play to Pellistri. He came on. He didn't, hang his head in shame like some players do, mope around the pitch. He came on. He gave 120%, and he contributed heavily to that goal that Bruno Fernandes scored. He got the assist. He won the ball back in the opponent's box. He was putting pressure on them, and then he ultimately, contributed heavily to winning us that game. Welcome everybody who's just joined in the last couple of minutes. Everyone, please smash a like on the video if you haven't already, and please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. It doesn't cost any money, completely free. Get involved in the channel. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about this Gabriel Barbosa guy. Flamengo striker, Brazilian, obviously, 27 years of age. He's played in Europe a little bit. Now, we seem to be getting linked to him. I'm not sure what to make of that one, to be honest. I don't know. I had a look at his stats yesterday, and he's got really good goal scoring stats in Brazil, but he did have a run of games at Inter Milan, and it never really worked for him. And I think that maybe we seem to be targeting these cheaper strikers, which is just the same as always, isn't it? You know, we got Weghorst last year when Gakpo was available. We should have got Gakpo. We should have, but we got Weghorst. There was plenty of other examples of where a good striker's available for a fair price, 20, 30 million, but yet we go for the even cheaper option. And I feel like this Gabriel Barbosa guy, for me, he's the really cheap option. We should be looking at Marcus Leonardo. We should be looking at Guirassy, who's absolutely destroying it in the Bundesliga with a 17 million euros release clause. Like, there's all these people out there, but it seems that Manchester United want to target the even cheaper options, the 5 to 10 million pound options or the loan options. And I just think that, what's the point? We saw what happened with Weghorst. Someone came in who, let's be honest, Weghorst gave 150% every time he was on the pitch. You could never doubt Weghorst's ability to try, but he just simply wasn't good enough, And I feel like this Barbosa guy would just be the same as that. He'll come in, he'll be really excited to play for Manchester United, but he's just never going to be good enough. And I think it's all good and well, Manchester United briefing the press saying that we want to bring in another striker to help Rasmus Højlund, but is bringing in someone like Gabriel Barbosa, who's 20, in his late 20s, playing his football in Brazil, really going to help Rasmus Højlund? I don't think so, personally. Daniel says, my biggest issue with Anthony is his wages. He may not have a say in transfer fees, but 200 grand a week is ridiculous wages to demand. Yeah, I would agree with that, to be fair. Anthony was on 20 grand a week at Ajax. He comes to Manchester United and suddenly gets paid 200 grand a week. I mean, that's just ridiculous, but that just screams incompetence again, doesn't it? The fact that the Manchester United board were willing to give him 10 times his pay, absolutely ridiculous. Chikorita says, I can't understand why we brought Mount instead of buying Muani. Yeah, I mean, I would never understand the Mason Mount signing. I saw Rio Ferdinand, and I think it was Joe Cole, speaking after the Fulham game. Now, I don't know whether this is just English bias. I don't know. But they were talking after the Fulham game. Both of these two. I mean, Rio Ferdinand's a legend and Joel Cole's a legend. Let's be honest. They're both Premier League legends. Obviously, Rio's a more well-renowned player than Joe Cole. But still, I respect what both of those people have to say. And they were saying that they thought Mason Mount would come good and that he'd be a really important player for Manchester United. And I was like, I just don't see it. I really don't. Where's he going to play? He's not going to push Bruno out of the team. He doesn't seem to be played on the right wing, which I was open to trying that. I had no issue with seeing Mason Mount, on that right wing. I would be happy to give that a try, but that doesn't seem to happen either. The only time that I ever see him getting an opportunity is if Bruno Fernandes gets injured. And I think Bruno Fernandes has missed one game through injury in the 2 or 3 years that he's been at Manchester United. Absolutely unbelievable. He doesn't miss games, Bruno, and he doesn't get subbed. So it is honestly the most strange signing I think we've ever made, Mason Mount. I remember at the time, everyone was completely shocked. They were like, why are we getting this guy? We don't need him. He's not good enough anyway. He's Chelsea through and through. Every single time I look at Mason Mount, right, I want him to succeed. Of course I do. But all I see is a Chelsea player. I can't unsee that. It's like if Rashford moved to Arsenal. All I would see, imagine if Rashford was playing for Arsenal. It's the same principle. Mason Mount's come through the youth academy at Chelsea. He's a Chelsea boy. He's their player. And to see him play at Manchester United, it just looks weird to me. And obviously it doesn't help that he's not really performing. Has he got any assists or goals? I don't know. Let me double check. I feel like he probably hasn't, but I don't want to slag him off and then look and he's actually got more assists than Anthony. So he's got 1 assist in 10 games. He's got more assists and goals than Anthony, to be fair. So just remember that. Not that that's really a good comparison, but do you know what I would say though, right? The fact that he's got more goals and assists than Anthony shows that he should be playing over Anthony, really, doesn't it? He definitely offers more than Anthony. Anthony's played 11 games this season, 628 minutes, and has got 0 goals, 0 assists. Mason Mount's played 571 minutes, 10 games in all competitions, and he's got 1 assist. So they're both still not good enough, but at least he has contributed in some way. David says Mason Mount just needs his confidence back. 100% on the wing. Give this man a chance, people. I'm not, honestly, David, I'm open to it, but I just don't see it's going to happen because we've got so many people in that right wing position. You look through the people we've got. We've got obviously we've got Marcus Rashford can play on the right. You've got Jadon Sancho, who obviously could play on the right. You've got Pellistri. You've got Ahmad. You've got Anthony. And now Mason Mount. Like there's 5 players ahead of him in that right wing position. The only way I see that Mason Mount gets a long run in this team is if Bruno Fernandes gets injured and Mason Mount takes his place. That's the only way I see it happening. But we'll have to wait and see. So Chikorita says Mount is right foot. He says Mount is right-footed, and I think he will be good on the right wing. He will give Højlund good balls, mate. I would 100% agree with you there. He's got a really, really good cross on him, Mason Mount. He obviously takes the corners when he's on the pitch. He 100% needs to play. Alan says Rashford will go nowhere. Not sure what you mean there. Do you mean about the Arsenal thing? I was just giving that as an example. I was saying, imagine seeing Rashford in an Arsenal shirt. It's the same as us seeing Mason Mount in a United shirt. Like, it doesn't feel right. That was all I meant. I'm not saying that Marcus Rashford's going to Arsenal. I was merely just giving a comparison of how strange it is to see to see Mason Mount play for Manchester United. Like, it still hasn't sunk in. It feels weird. Scott says no one is giving Højlund anything. I feel so bad for Rasmus Højlund. I do. I'm just so glad as well at this point so far that all of these TalkSport journalists and stuff, like, I usually slag them off and say that, you know, their opinions a lot of the time are a little bit sensationalist, but they've been really, really good with Rasmus Højlund, to be fair. Like, I'm so surprised that there's not people trying to say he's a flop. He's played 8 games for Man United, 572 minutes in total in the Premier League, right? Which is not that many if you think about it. It's about the equivalent of 5 whole matches he's played in the Premier League. He's got no goals. But answer me this question, right? How many opportunities has Rasmus Højlund missed since he's been at Manchester United in the Premier League? I genuinely can't think of one. I honestly cannot think of a single time where he had a goal-scoring opportunity where he should have scored and he was passed the ball and he missed. I honestly don't. I know he scored was it against Arsenal and it got disallowed? He has scored a goal, but it was disallowed. But I honestly don't remember him having any chances. He's got 3 goals in 3 games in the Champions League, which is obviously quite good. So fair play for him on that. Hopefully he gets some goals against Copenhagen on Wednesday and, you know, continues to build on the Champions League run of form. But in the Premier League, it's literally been the graveyard shift. We've seen Cavani, Falcao, Ighalo, Cristiano Ronaldo. We've seen all of these players, some of them obviously better than others, come to Manchester United and just completely disappear. Completely ghost, because no one seems to be able to cross the ball. And I think, especially now that Luke Shaw's injured, you know, Luke Shaw was one of the only players who used to cross the ball into the box. No one else does it. Reguilon doesn't do it. Dalot tries to do it, but not very well. Wan-Bissaka's obviously not very good going forward, but great defensively. And I just think it's a massive issue. And I really, really hope, just for Rasmus Højlund's sake, that he starts getting some opportunities, because I feel so bad for him, right? When he came off the pitch against Fulham on Saturday afternoon, he looked absolutely gutted. And you could just tell that he was thinking, what am I supposed to do? What's the point in me even being on this pitch? Nobody passes me the ball. Nobody crosses the ball. Nobody's putting the ball through to me. It's literally pointless even having him on the pitch. And I feel so bad for him. And I give zero, criticism towards him, because if you put Erling Haaland in this team, he would score no goals as well. I genuinely believe that. If you put Benzema, if you put Lewandowski, Kane, they probably would score no goals. I guess arguably Kane does drop back and offers other things than Rasmus Højlund, but let's just say you put an out-and-out penalty box striker in our team. They're going to struggle, and we're seeing that with Rasmus Højlund now. Fred says, let's face it, everyone of the players this season are ripe for some sought-after criticism. Let's stop picking out individuals. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think all of them deserve some criticism, to be fair. I will say this, though, right? Bruno Fernandes gets a lot of stick. He saved us against Fulham. He saved us against Burnley. Yes, he's not maybe getting the same stats as he was getting previous seasons, but he's won us like 2 or 3 matches in the Premier League, Bruno Fernandes. And I think that out of all the players, everybody's performing badly, but I would say that Bruno is actually still pulling through. Yes, he misplaces a lot of passes. Yes, he throws his hands around in the air too much, but I'm just having a look now. He's got 6 goals and assists in 15 starts. So he's averaging a goal or an assist pretty much every other game, which isn't terrible, is it? It's not bad at all. Obviously, it's not his stats before. You know, he was getting a goal or an assist every game, really, wasn't he, for kind of the last 2 years? Scott says, I think Rashford is pretty good. What does he say? I think Rashford is pretty good on the right wing, and Garnacho, I'm not sure what that says there. Somebody says, exactly, someone understands me. We'll need to give Ahmed a chance. I think he will get many assists with Højlund. I agree. Somebody else, he also says Højlund is 20 years old and shows passion. He doesn't get goals because of the wingers. 100%, mate. 100%. Gominda says if Højlund was given the right service, he would be banging the goals in 90% of the time. The midfield, he's in the midfield looking for the ball. I mean, that's literally it, isn't it? Scott, yeah, and Scott says no one's given Hoyland the ball. David says, I love your channel. Thank you very much for your support, mate. Richard says, Anthony Martial will score if given the opportunity. Hoyland isn't physically fit enough to play in the Premier League. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, mate. You're joking. Have you seen Hoyland? You're telling me he's not physical enough? Hoyland's a beast. Hoyland looks, he's big, I'm telling you. If you were stood next to Rasmus Hoyland, I'm telling you, he's strong, he's tall, he's 6'3". Like, I mean, how tall's Ronaldo? Not that Ronaldo's... Yeah, I mean, Ronaldo's 6'2". How tall is Kane? Kane's... how tall is Harry Kane? I don't agree with that, saying that Rasmus Hoyland isn't physical enough. I mean, yeah, Harry Kane's 6'1". I'm telling you, Rasmus Hoyland's a beast. He's strong, he's tall. Yeah, and I like him a lot. Right, let's talk a little bit about this Sir Alex Ferguson story then, because this is something I really, really like. Now, the story's coming out from multiple different journalists this afternoon saying that apparently Sir Alex Ferguson has given the full backing to Erik ten Hag in kind of the recent board meetings and stuff. Obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson's still on the board at Manchester United. And we know that Sir Alex Ferguson really likes Erik ten Hag. We know that before the Carabao Cup victory against Newcastle last season, where obviously we won the trophy, him and Erik ten Hag were pictured out in Manchester a couple of nights before, having a glass of wine and a meal. And you know what? I really, really like that. And I think that the way how Erik ten Hag is so respectful towards, Sir Alex and all of these other people, I really like. I feel like the reason why people like Mourinho and stuff didn't work was because he came in and he kind of, pardon my French, he kind of shat on our legacy of the top managers. He was just a little bit of a clown, wasn't he? Whereas I think Erik ten Hag is a bit more serious. He's a bit more respectful. He always says, if Manchester United lose a game, it's a big deal. We need to win every single game. And I think whenever Mourinho or other types of managers lost games, it was always kind of, they'd deflect the blame onto themselves. They'd kind of laugh it off. They'd make a scene in the press conference. And I don't think that's what Manchester United has always been about. So the story says here, Ten Hag has received a big boost ahead of this week's clash with Copenhagen with unwavering support from Sir Alex Ferguson. So that's really, really positive there. And I think it's the right decision. 100% my perspective is that Erik ten Hag's the right man for the job. So really, really happy that Sir Alex is giving him the backing that he rightfully deserves. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Everyone who's just joined, please smash a like on the video. It doesn't cost any money. And please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner as well. Jack says, what's your United versus Luton prediction? I think we'll win against Luton, but I don't think we'll thrash them, to be honest. I think... Luton looked all right against Liverpool. They nearly won the game. Obviously, they got a couple of half-decent players. I would be absolutely shocked if we lose to Luton. I would be absolutely gobsmacked. Will we go out and beat them 5-0? Maybe. Maybe this will be our big fixture. I don't think so. I think it will maybe be like 3-0, 2-0. I think we'll win. I think we'll get a clean sheet. I think it will be a much more convincing performance. I think a lot of the Ten Hag outers will come away for it and say, oh, that was the kind of football we wanted to see and all the rest of it. And I think it will be a positive result. Copenhagen, I think, is the more difficult game, genuinely. I think Copenhagen, anything can happen. I really, really do. I hope and I pray that we beat Copenhagen, because if we do, I think we'll qualify then if we beat Copenhagen on Wednesday night, because you've got to remember, Bayern Munich play Galatasaray at home on Wednesday as well. If they beat Galatasaray, we would then go second in the group. So just double checking what day is the Luton game on. Is it on Saturday? Is it a 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday? Yeah, 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Yeah, I reckon we're going to beat both of them. I reckon we're going to beat Copenhagen, and then I reckon we're going to beat Luton. I think we're going to do it. I'm feeling positive. Mark says I think it'll be 2-1 to United against Luton. Mark also says Hoyland is a good player. He's learning. He will turn out to be good. 100%, mate. 120%. I've no doubt about that. Lumen says Ollie was more respectful to Sir Alex Ferguson to the extent of not parking his car in Sir Alex Ferguson's spot. Fair enough. Fred says, Kieran, what do you think Erik ten Hag's youth policy actually is? They seem to be lacking playtime. Is it down to the skill factor? Yeah, I think honestly, I think Erik ten Hag is a fair manager. I really do, and that's what I like about him. People say that he's got his favourites and stuff, and I don't believe it. People say, "Oh, why is he starting? Why is he starting Rashford? Why is he starting Rashford? What about Garnacho?" I don't really buy into that. I think Garnacho as an impact sub is world class. I would go as far as saying that. I genuinely think Garnacho coming off the bench in the 70th minute is honestly world class. When he starts games, I think he looks a little bit lost at points. I think when the defenses have got 100% stamina and it's the beginning of a match, I think he struggles a little bit. But when they come on in the second, when he comes on in the second half and the defenders are tired and he can really get at them, I think he causes a lot of damage. So yeah, I don't really buy into the whole favourites thing. I get the Antony one, but when you actually look at it, what other options do we have on that right wing at the moment? Obviously, Pelistri's available now, but he was injured. Ahmad's injured. Sancho's out of the team. Mason Mount is questionable whether he's actually good playing there. And there's no one really else, is there? So I can understand why Antony gets so many minutes. I don't understand why Bruno plays on the right, though. That I will agree with. Mila says Rashford is the 4th worst striker in Europe at the moment. I mean, that's just form, though, isn't it? He got 30 goals last season in all competitions. So I'm not going to sit here and say, Rashford is not good enough, get him out of the team. I think Rashford is one of our best players. I think Bruno is one of our best players. I think that we're having a hard season. I think that, we've had 20 plus players injured throughout the season. We don't have our first choice defence. We've got a defence of Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, and who else was it? Reguilon or something. That was our defence for a couple of games. And we just have to remind ourselves of that. Richard says, I didn't say Højlund is a bad player. He's just not yet adapted himself to the physicality of the Premiership. He gets easily bullied by defenders. He doesn't win aerial duels. He has pace, but loses. I don't know. I feel like he holds himself quite well. I feel like he's quite good with this hold-up play. But obviously, maybe you're seeing something different to me. Somebody else says it'll be 2-1 to United against Luton. Danny says Ten Hag's youth manager is quite simple. Be elite or find opportunities elsewhere. You can't automatically assume you will make it into the senior squad because you are homegrown. Only quality matters. I would agree with that, and I like that. Lumen says, Kieran, would you swap Rashford and Antony for Doku? I would swap Antony for Doku. I wouldn't swap Rashford for Doku, no. I wouldn't. Mila says Garnacho deserved an assist last game. Yeah, he did. He played well. MC says Højlund needs a season to settle. He's young. He's a fan of United, so I don't see any issues with him. Rashford is a winger, not a striker, and he's been paid too much, has been successful yet. The thing is, right, can you really blame these players for, if Manchester United offered you 300 grand a week, would you say no? Would you say, oh no, that's too much, I don't want it? Whenever we talk about wages and we talk about transfer fees and stuff, the blame needs to be pointed at the Glazers, firstly, then John Murtagh, then Richard Arnold, and not the manager, because the manager doesn't decide how much the players get paid. You need to look at the CEO. You need to look at the director of football that doesn't exist. We don't have a wage structure. We supposedly were going to start this wage structure last season and it never happened. So all of that blame needs to be focused on the people higher up. You can't just say, oh, Rashford's on 300 grand a week. It's a disgrace this, it's a disgrace that. I mean, it's a disgrace that United paid him that. I have no issue with Rashford taking 300 grand a week. I would do the same if I was him. Whether he's a Manchester United fan and, boyhood youth player or whatever. If they're stupid enough to offer him the money, then of course he should take it. Like that's their fault, isn't it? Mila says wingers who have given 10 assists in 3 seasons. Somebody says, would you consider selling Bruno and bringing in Wirtz? I think maybe in a couple of years, yeah, but not now. I think Bruno is one of our better players. I think someone like Wirtz would be unbelievable, but we just signed Mason Mount for 60 million in a similar position. So we have what we have. We need to make the most of what we've got. See what else we've got in the chat. Somebody says, how do we fix the wage structure? Is the damage already done forever? Let's have a little look at the wage structure together then, shall we? And work out how we can fix it. Everybody smash a like on the video, please. And subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, if you haven't already. So let's have a look at the wage structure. So I think it's actually quite easily managed and easily sorted. I genuinely do. So let's go through this together, right? Casemiro, 350 grand a week. That's ridiculous. He's 31. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. I think he'll probably leave either this summer. I reckon United will try and sell him this summer to Saudi. I have a feeling. This is just an opinion, but I have a feeling that both Varane and Casemiro will leave the club in the summer. I just think that will happen. One's on 350 grand a week. The other's on 340. I think both of them will go. Then it's Marcus Rashford on 300 grand a week. Obviously, he's going to be here for the next 5 years. Fine. Anthony Martial's on 250 grand a week. His contract expires in the summer, so he'll be gone. Mason Mount's on 250 grand a week. That is absolutely ridiculous to give Mason Mount 250 grand a week to sit on the bench. Jadon Sancho's on 250 grand a week. He will go. I think within a year or two, our highest earning player will be about 250 grand a week. At the moment, it's 350. And I hope then that United just keep it at that 250 grand a week kind of ballpark area. You know, when you've got people like Lisandro Martinez on 100 grand a week, and he's arguably our best defender, and then you're paying Rafael Varane 340. I mean, that just sums it up for me. It doesn't make sense. There's no logic to this wage structure to pay, you know, somebody who's injury prone 340 grand a week, Rafael Varane, and then pay Martinez, who played every single minute last season, a third of his wage. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I think it really, really needs sorting. There's quite a few other players who will obviously go in the summer as well. You know, you think Donny van der Beek, 120 grand a week. And then as you get further down the list, you know, people like Scott McTominay, we all slag off McTominay, right? McTominay's on 60 grand a week. I've got all the wages up here. 60,000 a week. When you compare that to Martial's 250 grand a week, I would say this. I think McTominay earns his 60 grand a week. I don't think he's good enough to play for Manchester United, but I think £60,000 a week is a fair wage for what he offers. I genuinely do. Got no issue with that. Garnacho just signed a new contract, 50 grand a week. Like, again, that's completely fair. I've got no issue with that. Rasmus Højlund, 85 grand a week. Again, zero issues with that. It's these bigger players, the bigger names. Let's be honest, Varane, Casemiro, they probably did just come for the money, I believe, because Real Madrid were not paying these types of players that type of money. They were on about 200 grand a week at Real Madrid. Man United come knocking, and they know they can get 350 grand a week each. And I think it's something we need to sort out. It's something we need to address, and hopefully that's what this new director of football, hopefully if Sir Jim does come in, which obviously I don't want, but I want him to come in and succeed if he does come in. Hopefully this is something Sir Jim Ratcliffe will address. Fred says, do you think the money being promised will be spent on a new training centre? Yeah, it's going to be spent on the stadium and Carrington, apparently. Mila says, Anthony's on 200 grand a week. Yes. Lumen says, Kieran, but would you not work harder after a big pay rise? I don't think it's a case of working harder. I think they need to be incentivised. I know at Arsenal, people like Saka are on about 150 grand a week, but they've got all of these incentives in their contract where, like, if they win a match, they'll get an extra 20 grand. If they get an assist, they'll get an extra 20 grand. And there's all these add-ons in their contract, you know? Their base salary is like 150, but they could earn up to 300, 400, 500 grand a week based on how they perform on the pitch, whether they get an assist, whether they get a goal. And I endorse that. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me on the show this morning. I will be live tomorrow morning as usual. Apologies, I wasn't here this morning. I was on a train, so yeah, obviously I can't stream on the train. But thank you so much to everyone who's watching. I will be back live at 8:30 a.m. UK time. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video before you go. Please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak to you all a little bit later.